All right, everybody, I am back with a brand new DC update. And before I get into the screen grabs I'm going to show you for today's video, I do need to address something, and this is very important. It's not necessarily a fun topic, but I do need to cover it. There is one channel on YouTube specifically that has been attacking myself and several other YouTubers and also people on Twitter. And this channel, as you guys know, a lot of you will know who it is, but it is Slav. This is the only time I'm going to mention it's Slav's Free Talk. This is the only time I'm going to mention him in my videos. He did another video yesterday where he attacked myself, Snyder Queen, Sammy, on Twitter, and also the Lethal Geeks. Now, he will claim these are not attacks. Like, he will poke the bear, but then run and claim, oh, I was just pointing out facts. When he is not just pointing out facts, okay? And it's getting to the point where it could become somewhat dangerous. And I'm going to explain what he does and what happened. So I did a video talking, well, I did a post on Twitter talking about how they're going to be releasing tomorrow, actually, a Peacemaker teaser, full teaser for Peacemaker Season 2. And I had posted how it's crazy that we're getting that teaser before we get a full trailer for Superman, which we don't have yet. And this is part of what I'm going to talk about here in today's video. And he ended up doing a video where he had to refute that. He had to say, the marketing has been great. The marketing, what Aaron will fail to tell you is that we've had a teaser, we've had the 5-minute preview, we've had this, we've had that, we've had this, we've had that. And Peacemaker has had nothing. Well, I certainly hope it's had nothing. Nobody cares about Peacemaker. They really don't. It never broke the top 10 on HBO Max. It was never talked about on the investor calls. I have all those reports. They never talked about it. It was never a product of discussion. They did not care. Peacemaker was not the juggernaut they claimed it was. Okay, there is no reason that show should have a season 2. None whatsoever. None. And what's crazy is we have what is supposed to be a massive blockbuster film coming out, and they're not advertising it. They're slowly doing stuff like Dairy Queen is now doing tie-ins with Superman, and nobody goes to Dairy Queen. Some kids do, but they're like the least used fast food restaurant, okay? The marketing has been terrible. Now, in his video, he also went after the Lethal Geeks and, like I said, Sammy. And he went after Sammy for posting, I think she did a post where she talked about 1.4 million tweets for the Snyderverse have been tweeted out, okay? Now, at the beginning of his video, he also mentioned when he was going after me, he talked about how I failed to even mention that the teaser trailer for Superman broke all kinds of records, okay? And it did, according to what they said. But when he started talking about the 1.4 million tweets for the Snyderverse, he goes into this long rant on how what Sammy wouldn't tell you is that those were people who were retweeting. It wasn't 1.42 million people who actually tweeted about the Snyderverse. It was a bunch of people who were retweeting and retweeting and retweeting, and so it didn't represent 1.42 million people. Well, all of those millions of views for the trailer don't represent millions of people watching the trailer either. And this is what he won't tell you. He is selective with what he is going to tell you and how he's going to give you the information. He will certainly attack other people, but will not take responsibility for himself. And I had to point out in his comments that when he talked about the trailer, he didn't mention how some people would watch the trailer over and over and over and over again. And every time you watch it, it is a view. Okay? You can only like it once, but it can have, every time you watch it, it counts as a view. I myself probably watched the trailer 15 or 20 times to get everything I could out of it and really analyze it. He won't talk about that. He won't talk about how the trailer was not as big as it was because he wants to paint a narrative. Now, I have never claimed to be a strictly news channel and give you unbiased news. I give commentary. I am a review channel. So I've never claimed to be anything other than that. He claims to be the harbinger of truth, and he's anything but. All he wants to do is attack these other channels. It's all his content is, and it needs to stop, okay? And what's crazy, if you go into his comments, these people are unhinged. There are people in there saying that I bully people, that I'm a bully, that that's all that I do, that I'm a bully. I've never bullied anybody. I've never personally attacked anybody. That's not what my channel is, and it never will be. And what's crazy is if people come into my comments and they're belligerent, I block them. The personal attacks I don't put up with, but all you have on his channel are personal attacks in the comments. It is the most unhinged thing I have ever seen. You want to talk about truth with Superman. You want to talk about the truth about the DCU? It's in shambles, okay? We have a massive blockbuster Superman film that is supposed to come out in 2 months. 2 months. We don't even have a full trailer for it. There isn't even a full trailer, and it hasn't been released yet. Now, there are rumors that there is going to be a trailer next week. Who said that? Did James Gunn come out and tell you that? Did the studio tell you that? No. They're just making stuff up. They're claiming it's going to happen. They don't know. We've been burned with the Puppy Bowl and other things. I've had those videos twice. I've had to come in and tell people, where are you getting your information? Because these things were never talked about. And sure enough, in those two instances, I think it was at the Super Bowl, the Puppy Bowl, and I told people that we're not getting anything. There is no proof, none, that a trailer is coming out next week. Here's what we also know about the DCU. We also know that they announced a slate of stuff that almost none of it is happening. The only 3 things off of that original slate that are happening right now, Superman, Supergirl, and Lanterns. Everything else has been pushed to the side. They had announced Sergeant Rock. They were casting for it. They had announced Clayface, and we're going to look at a still, one of the screen grabs I have for today. Clayface was announced, and I'm going to show you how James Gunn lied again. And here's what we've learned about James Gunn. He is going to make everything look all rosy and claim all of this and all of that, and none of it is true. He had made claims that they will not greenlight or start a film until the script is finished. Clayface has a 2026 release date. And we're going to see what happened with the script this week. And there's even more information out there about the Batman 2 that we're going to look at today, that this can be speculation. The other thing is not. The thing with Clayface is not speculation. The thing with Sergeant Rock getting canceled and pushed off to the side. Everything is in shambles down there at Warner Brothers. They have no money. And I mean, they're doing the Lantern show, and it's not even going to take place in space. It's going to be a grounded story on Earth. Nobody asked for that. They're not giving the fans what they want. And here's what I posted on Twitter yesterday, is that what's crazy about James Gunn is James Gunn has done nothing other than ensemble films and juvenile, disgusting humor in all of his projects. And he bastardizes every character that he gets his hands on. And the reason people will come in and say, well, Guardians of the Galaxy is loved. He made you feel something. It hit the audiences, and it might have. But here's the difference between something like Guardians and Superman. Guardians of the Galaxy was not a well-known IP under Marvel. The average audience member, moviegoer, had no idea who the Guardians were. But all those characters were bastardized. You know who's familiar with Superman? Just about everybody. You cannot do with Superman what you did with Guardians of the Galaxy. And there is no proof that he's not going to do that. Okay? We know nothing about the trailer. We know nothing about the film. And everyone talks about having hope. You should have hope. And the thing I told Slav is if he truly had hope and he was really happy with the direction the DCU was going in, he would focus his channel on that. But he does not. And here's what I know about channels like that. When you have channels that constantly attack other channels and that's all their content is, they don't survive. They will plateau with a certain amount of members. They won't gain members. It's toxic. And their comment sections are toxic. I try to keep mine as untoxic as I can. My channel is all about what I wanted, and what a lot of people wanted was the DCEU to return, for the Snyderverse to be continued. We don't have there was no finish to the storyline. All we're asking is the studio follows through with what they started and finish those storylines, and we will never stop. We will never stop asking for that. It doesn't matter how well or bad Superman does, we'll never stop asking for it. That is not toxic. That is not toxic. I don't attack other people. I don't condone attacking other people. I never have, and it's never going to happen on my channel. My channel is about my content, not somebody else's. And what's going on with these other content creators like Slab, their comment section, it's dangerous. It is absolutely dangerous. And he doesn't shut that stuff down. And people making, it's defamation, half of the stuff that they post on there about me. And it's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. Here's what we know about Superman, okay? You want more truth. The trailers. There's nothing hopeful about the trailers at all. None of them. Not the teaser and not the clip that they showed. In every scene, Superman is beat up. He's depressed. He's got cans being thrown at his head. He's beat down that his dog hurts him when the dog jumps on him. All his bones are broken. There is nothing super about the Superman teaser. There's nothing super about the scene that they released, the extended scene with Minecraft. None of this, the optics on this are bad. Like, you have one of the most well-known characters around the world, a big blockbuster film coming out in just 2 months, and there's no official trailer. Nobody has any idea the tone of the film. And the tone of the film, if you go based off of what we've seen, not hopeful. Not full of hope, not full of goodness. It's the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite. But let's look at, I'm telling you, Warner Brothers is in shambles. Like, it's out of control. Let's take a look at some of the stuff that I've grabbed. So here it is. This is the big news, and I'm going to talk about how the Gunn crowd were talking about this versus reality. This comes from The Wrap. It says, DC Studios has reportedly hired screenwriter Hossein Amini, who did Drive, to rewrite the Clayface movie. Clayface is set to release on September 11th of 2026. Kind of an odd date to release a film, to be honest with you. But what's crazy about this is it's not saying he's coming in to do a one-page rewrite. This is what the Gunn crowd said. The Gunn crowd came in and kept saying everywhere, oh, it's just a one-page rewrite. It's not a one-page rewrite because actually the guy who was writing this dropped out and left. He's not going to be a part of it anymore. This is an actual rewrite of the film, and James Gunn promised that they would not greenlight a film or have a release date and announce it until they had a finished script. So what happened? What happened? Now we're going to see what somebody said about this, and this could be this. I cannot verify this, but we're going to see what this person said. It says, the Clayface, this is from Stuntman Mike. This Clayface rewrite is to buy more time and to delay depending on how Superman performs. The Clayface script is cannibalized from Reeves' script. Yes, Clayface was the villain of Batman 2, which is currently canceled. But if Superman doesn't make bank, Warner Brothers will pivot back to Batman and cancel Clayface. I totally could see this happening. I could totally see this being a possibility. I think right now, we're not going to have, between now and the time that Superman releases, I don't think we're going to hear much from Warner Brothers and DC Studios in regards to DC moving forward until that movie gets released, because they need to see what the reception is. And again, this is one of those things. I'm going to talk about tickets sold at the end of this video, because there's something people need to realize about, comparing one movie versus another. And I'm going to talk about that at the end of my video. Now, somebody asked James Gunn, is Clayface officially the third DCU film? Why didn't you choose to do a more prominent character first, like Flash or Wonder Woman? James Gunn said, because of the number one rule here at DC, no movie will be greenlit before the script is ready. And Flanagan Films' script was ready. And as for The Flash, we're holding a beat on development. Remember this quote? Remember this? Remember this? Flanagan's script was ready. What happened? What happened? I do believe there's some delay tactics going on, and they're going to wait to see what happens with Superman, because if it doesn't get well received, everything could be scrapped. Now, as I was on Twitter yesterday, some people started posting some stuff from Batman the Animated Series, and I absolutely love this, and I posted that this is back when Warner Brothers actually respected DC properties. Batman the Animated Series and Superman the Animated Series are just amazing, amazing products that came out of Warner Brothers. Here's another production art still from Superman the Animated Series. I mean, this was great stuff. We just don't get this kind of stuff from Warner Brothers anymore. Now, this is a rumor. It says the Fortress of Solitude will be a location in the next season of Fortnite. Now, I'm not a Fortnite fan. I could care less about the game. Some people will like this. So for those of you who are Fortnite fans and you're Superman fans, maybe you'll be excited by this. But this does nothing for me because I do not care about that game whatsoever. Now, this is pretty cool. I do have all the individual issues for Deceased, and it says revealing Ben Oliver Art's cover for our Deceased Omnibus. 1,040 pages of horror, humor, heartache, and hope in one massive hardcover. Coming July 1st from DC Official. Available for pre-order now. This is from Tom Taylor. This is something I might pick up when it comes out and it goes on sale. It would be interesting. I'm starting to collect some more of the main storyline comics. And you'll see something that I picked up yesterday that I'm very excited to read, and we'll talk about that in today's video as well. Here it is. I got this in the mail yesterday. I did not know that All-Star Batman, which at the time this got released, I was aware of it, but I was not collecting it because it was not part of the main continuity. I had no idea that this series was written by Scott Snyder. And when I found that out, I was like, ooh, I've got to get a hardbound copy of that run so that I can read it, because this will be a new read for me, and I'm actually excited to read it. It is outside normal continuity, and I'm liking some of these, kind of offshoot stories with these characters. And Scott Snyder is an amazing author. I will actually leave a link, an affiliate link to this comic in my description below, so if anybody is interested in picking this up, it will also go to help my channel, but doesn't cost you anything extra. So here was the big news that I saw today. It says Matt Reeves is no longer directing the Batman 2 sequel set for production in 2026 with no director attached. Now, this is a big fat rumor, okay? Do not take this as fact. I'm reporting on it because it is being picked up in multiple places, but we do not know if this is true yet. But I could totally see this happening. As we know, there is something going on with Matt Reeves, and he may no longer be available. Now, it says he's probably going to still write the script, but he will not be attached as the director. And I would not mind a different director taking over. I do like the cinematography of the first film. I'd rather not have Matt Reeves write it. I don't like this costume for Batman at all. I didn't like it in the film. I didn't like it before. I didn't like it after. I also think that this was a poor choice for Batman using Pattinson. I don't think he's big enough to play the character. And now that this movie is going to be so far after the first one, if it does end up coming out, there needs to be massive growth in the character. It cannot just be a continuation like it's happening right after the other film anymore. There needs to be a period of time that has passed for this to work right. All right, so here was something else that Slav showed in his video. And I'm going to talk some truth on this too, because he was trying to tell his audience that adjusting for inflation when you talk about tickets sold doesn't matter for various reasons. Now, this is really truly the only way to really show comparisons when you're comparing old films with new films is to adjust for inflation, simply because tickets cost more now than they did when these films were released. And you have to adjust for inflation so that you get a direct one-to-one ticket comparison. Meaning, if you bought a ticket today at today's prices, this is what the amount of money these films would have made. Why is this important? Because when Superman comes out, if it doesn't make this kind of money, it means there were less people interested in going to the film. Okay? It means fewer tickets were sold. And at that point, what's the point? And here's what this post says. It says, final Snyderverse box office revenues adjusted for inflation in 2025. Man of Steel would have made $926 million. Batman vs. Superman would have been $1.173 billion. Suicide Squad would have made $1 billion. Wonder Woman would have made almost $1.1 billion. And Aquaman would have made $1.5 billion. That is adjusted for today's dollars. Why is this important? Because when something comes out today, you have to account for the money that it made, same amount of money, same tickets, same for the cost of the tickets, okay? The only people who do not want to compare it this way are the ones who want to skew the numbers. They want to skew it to make excuses for why something didn't do well. Slav was telling his audience that you have to take into account that people just aren't going to the movies anymore. That for something to perform well, it doesn't need to make that kind of money. It just needs to make X amount of dollars or whatever it is. You know, some people are claiming Superman only needs to make $600 million for it to be successful. Since when? Since when? If you aren't going to meet the numbers of something like Man of Steel, then what is the point? Just continue with what you had. Why would you replace something you had making money with something that won't make as much money? There is no business that works that way. Wall Street doesn't work that way. When you work for a big company, it doesn't work that way. You have to make more than the previous one. No matter what it takes, you have to make more. You can't make less and say that's a good thing. No business runs that way. It is a fact that the only way you can do this right is to adjust for inflation so you get what current ticket prices would have netted back then. That way, you get like I said, it's all about butts in the seats. If you want to show interest, it's about how many people actually bought tickets to go to the theater. And these are also the same people that will tell you that Batman vs. Superman ruined the DCU, the DCEU, that it was the downfall of the DC brand, but people kept coming for the next 4 years, all the way through Aquaman. That's not how that works, okay? Now, Slav would also say, you got to understand that they underperformed. Yeah, they might have underperformed for what the executives wanted, but that still didn't mean the studio didn't make a crap ton of money off of it and then replaced it with stuff that didn't make any money, that actually lost the studio money. That doesn't make any sense. And so you can only do it. The only fair way to do it is by tickets sold, period. And the only way to show that is when you adjust for inflation like this shows. It's the only fair way to do it. All right, guys, so there you go. Yes, I'm a little heated in today's video simply because I'm tired of my channel getting attacked by people who can't stay in their lane. Like, I don't come on here to specifically talk about other channels. My content is unique. It's my channel, and I'm going to continue to run it that way. If you have a problem with it, you run your own channel. You talk about your own stuff, but don't come attacking me. And you really need to stop attacking people who like the DCU simply because they want it to continue. There is nothing wrong with that. Nobody is telling you you can't have Gunn stuff. Yeah, we might want it to fail, but we're not going to sit there and belittle you because you want it to succeed. We don't care. We don't care if it succeeds or if it fails. We want it to fail, but we don't care if it succeeds because we still want the finish of the story that we were supposed to have. That's what it comes down to. All right, guys, the next video will be a more normal, down-to-earth video. I hope I never have to talk about these people ever again, and we'll see you guys on the next video.